All right, guys. Shane Bieber is back
Yeah.
with the Guardians. He re-signed on a one-year deal. According to reports, he turned down more lucrative offers elsewhere to return to Cleveland. Bo, what do you make of the move of Shane Bieber coming back? Same money, same ballpark as Matthew Boyd and some other guys.
I have mixed feelings about it. Jason and I were debating this a little bit in our chat group.
I seen that.
I have mixed feelings because if I knew the Guardians were going to spend more money, then I'd have zero problem with this. My problem with this signing for Shane Bieber is this is for the Guardians a lot of money because they're cheap and they don't spend. So I don't know how much Shane Bieber's going to be able to pitch. And frankly, I don't know that it's a guarantee he's going to pitch at all this year.
I was going to ask you that when he's coming back.
I get it. When guys come back from Tommy John surgery, eventually many of them are even better than they were. It happened. But it could take, like Walker Buehler, it took him like 2 years to get back. Shane Bieber, at best case scenario, he's back in July. That's best case scenario.
Yep.
Okay, and we have seen quite often, now Matthew Boyd was the exception. He did a good job. But we've seen many times that when a pitcher doesn't start pitching till the middle of the summer, he's way behind. He can struggle. We saw it with Gavin Williams last year. You've seen it with a ton of pitchers. Look at all these starting pitchers that have signed late. The guys who in recent years who have signed, at the end of spring training, April. A lot of times they have bad seasons. Why? Because they're out of rhythm. The rest of the league is up to speed, and they're just starting spring training.
Blake Snell kind of threw a little wrench in that last year, though.
There are always exceptions, sure. Blake Snell did have a good year, but look at Jared Montgomery. Was it Jared Montgomery? Why does that sound wrong to me?
No. Montgomery went to Arizona.
Yeah.
Jordan.
Not Jared. Jordan Montgomery, the year before, he was like the star of the World Series. Last year was awful.
I also don't think he's very good.
He is good. He's not as good as Blake Snell.
He's okay.
Okay. He's way better than he'd been last year.
I think he had one really, really good year. But go ahead.
Okay, but last year he couldn't even start. Now the owner's complaining they spent money on him. It's a disaster. And when you have limited resources, or when you choose to have limited resources, and you have holes, well, spending a good chunk of what I think they're going to spend this offseason on a guy that, yes, when healthy, has for the most part been great, but I don't know when he's going to pitch all year. When you have, for the first time in a decade, more questions than answers in your starting rotation, not to mention holes in the lineup, I don't know how you justify spending that kind of money on a pitcher that, best case scenario, you're getting 2 months from.
Because they don't care about those 2 months, they care about the third month. Now, you have to get there. You have to get to October. But if you get to October, it's a risk. They're all a risk. All free agent signings are a risk. But if you get to October, you just bought an ace for half the price of what most aces are.
I don't know that he'll be an ace.
You're right, July is the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's August. More and more, if you look at the history of these April Tommy John guys, they're not coming back until August. Teams are pushing in an effort to try and get their best self back when they do come back. And it is a little bit rocky that first year back. That's why you're getting him for $14 million, because a healthy Shane Bieber is getting double that or more on the open market. So you're taking a risk that you would rather have Shane Bieber for October on $14 million rather than Matthew Boyd. I'd rather have Shane Bieber than Matthew Boyd for $14 million. I can tell you that. I'd rather have Shane Bieber than Frankie Montas for the same money. Like, for the money, because we talked about this before. I said it's insane what Matthew Boyd got. There's no way I would pay that. It's insane what Montas got. You said that's
not insane.
But it is. They're not good. They're not good.
They are what they are, but that's what the market is, Jason.
But that doesn't mean that you buy into the market inefficiency. It means that you do what they do. Now, I'm not saying they don't spend, but I would spend on a bat and not overpay for a mediocre pitcher when there's guys every year that fall through the cracks that you can get, which they did with Matthew Boyd, which they did with Alex Cobb. There's going to be another guy that falls through the cracks. I don't know who it is right now, but I'll tell you in February or March.
You don't get lucky like that every year.
They do.
That's not every year.
Almost every year. They nailed it with Ben Lively. Like, for whatever reason, they've got the secret sauce on how to do this. I'm not going to pay $15 million for a mediocre pitcher.
But who's saying they should? This is not a... I'm not saying, they should have signed Boyd over Bieber.
But they just bought an ace for $14 million.
I just don't buy... First of all, he hadn't been quite as good in his last couple of years when he was healthy.
I'm not sure he was healthy.
Okay, well then he hasn't been an ace for a few years at this point.
But he looked pretty doggone good
But
this year.
it was 2 starts.
And he was hurt. And he still looked, yes, it was only 2 starts. But we came through those 2 starts going, oh my God, Shane Bieber looks like he's back.
I'm just saying that now, if they go and spend $15 million on another player, okay, I don't mind this move. And it doesn't have to be a pitcher. If this is the only big allocation of money that they have this offseason, then I think they spent it in the wrong way.
I do think that they need another pitcher. Because, again, Shane's not going to pitch till August. I do think they need another starter. I did a radio hit with Earl, and I said, I really like Jeffrey Springs. I think he's a guy, Tampa's probably going to move him. He's making $10 million. That's a lot of money to them. And the Guardians, obviously these teams match up well, and the Guardians have the prospect capital to go get something like that done. And he's a guy who's now a year removed from Tommy John. So this should be the year when you can take the guardrails off and let him go.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's the type of move I would love to see.
The question to you guys is, are they going to spend more money? You keep saying if.
Not a lot, no.
So
they're not. But what did Bieber make last year? What was he making last year in arbitration? I should have looked this up.
Probably somewhere.
Probably right around where he is.
Maybe a little more.
So they haven't really added anything.
No.
Like they've just
ran it back.
No, their payroll's even lower right now because
he made 13.5 last year.
All right, so he's basically getting exactly what he got.
Okay, yeah, but they still had what's his name who never played for them on the who they were paying $10 million to.
Yeah,
the infielder,
that journeyman infielder. I can't even think of his name.
What? Gene Segura.
Was this Gene Segura?
Gene Segura. Like they were still paying him.
Pulling that out of my.
He's out, but you know,
myself.
Jimenez's contract is going up this year. They're still wasting money on Miles Straw.
Yep.
I mean, so you're paying Hedges the same amount of money again. Naylor and Lane Thomas are going to get raises if they're here in arbitration. So I don't know if they're going to spend any more money.
I don't know.
All I'm saying is, if you only had $15 million to spend,
they're not going to spend significantly more than what they were last year.
Okay, so they've spent in free agency, right? They're paying. What is Bieber getting this year? 14.
14.
14, correct.
Okay, so they've spent $19 million between Bieber and Hedges.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, and I understand what Hedges means to. If a team's only going to spend $19 million and they get a pitcher who, yes, when he's been healthy, he's been very good, but it's been a while. Who I don't know what he's going to be at all this year because I don't know when he's going to pitch.
And if they don't get to October, then it's a moot point,
right?
Because that's what you're buying. You're
right.
Not
Then
buying
they wasted it, and if they were going to sign him for that, like I don't. By the way, I don't really buy this. There were other teams offering him more money.
I believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe more total money, not per year. Maybe they offered him like a 3-year, $30 million thing or whatever.
More. I mean, in this deal, he holds the player option.
Right.
And a lot of times,
which are the Guardians, you shouldn't. I mean, I don't know why they let that happen.
Because that was the only way to get him back, more than likely. Because I do think he did have better offers. He's been. It's no secret. Everyone thought he was going to the West Coast. Angels and Dodgers have been the 2 teams that everyone, especially the Angels, because they're so desperate for pitching.
Yeah.
Everybody thought Shane, because he wants to go back where he's from.
Right.
And so in order to get this done, you had to give him and he gets a $4 million buyout in year 2. But that was the only way to get this done because I do think the Angels or another team, mystery team, whatever, would have offered him more in the second year because that's really what you're buying. This is sort of a wash year, and then you're buying him his services for next year, whereas the Guardians are going all in saying, we have a team that can make it to October, and when we get to October, we're going to have this guy to lead the staff.
I know that, listen,
it's a risk.
They had a great year this past year, and but the division's as good as it's ever been.
Yes, it is.
And I don't think they're guaranteed to make the playoffs.
Of course not.
I love this team. I think they have a chance, but this is not basketball where everybody makes the playoffs.
Nothing is guaranteed.
So I'm guessing that they think that they're going to have a competitive battle for the playoffs too, because what you're telling me is they're not going all in.
No, they never go all in. That's the unfortunate thing.
Like, you know. Which is kind of
they're not interested in having a competitive payroll,
but it's disheartening a little bit because you just went to the ALCS
and the team you lost to just lost their best player.
Right. So like I feel like it's blood in the water a little bit. Like if you could sign a bat, give me another pitcher. Or here's the thing, or if you gonna sell it to me that guess what, we ain't got no money. That's cool. That's fine. All right.
It's a lie, but all right.
All right. I'll take you on that face value. I need to see all these ball players though. I don't want no 6-year plans for these dudes. Like people telling me Passan is going to come up in 3 years.
No, not 3 years.
Nobody's saying that.
Listen, last year it was 1 year. I'm counting last year's one.
Yeah.
Will I see him this year?
He just drafted him in June.
I want
Jason,
to see him.
To be fair, we are seeing
These other dudes is
the
playing.
College top 10 picks are coming up the second year.
Absolutely. I think
he
he'll
should
be
be
here
in the
this year.
majors this year.
Yes, I think he will be.
He won't be to start the season,
But I
probably.
thought the same for Banzardo. They slow walked him.
They did.
They slow walked
That was
And he
Manzardo.
struggled. And he struggled.
But at some point, I don't think these guys are going to melt.
Well, but these guys, these teams know usually when their guys are ready. We can look at it and say, hey, he's been here this long. He should be ready to go. That doesn't mean that they are. We all thought Manzardo was ready to go. He got up here and he didn't hit. And he went back down and then he came back up and then he was ready.
Like, I don't have a problem. Like, you got Bobby and Williams, right? Williams struggled last year.
He was hurt.
I get it. But at least he was contributing. At least I get to see, like, okay,
Well, Manzardo will be here to start the season, obviously, next year.
Yes.
Day first
Bazzana, if he plays well, will be on the team by May or June.
Yep.
So
where's DeLauder? We've been hearing
he had another injury at the end of last year, so I'm not sure.
Yep.
Man,
He should be up this
He
year.
should
but
be
he's
up here to
gotta
start
stay
the
healthy.
season. If he's healthy, he might be. I don't know.
We've been. Hey, who's this?
It's frustrating. I get it. The
George
Guardians,
Valera. We heard about Valera.
they cut him, but they brought him back,
him back.
on a.
How did he get cut?
They
They
took
had
him
to
off
create
the
roster
They
spots.
took him off the 40-man.
See,
But he's
that's
back.
what I'm saying, Dustin.
Didn't even know.
I didn't even
But
know.
he's not back on the 40-man,
We've been
but-
talking about him for
Yeah,
5, 6
I know.
years.
Yeah.
And
That's fair.
He's
Because
another guy who can't stay healthy.
The
He's had a
Guardians
ton of
have done a
injuries.
bad job. We have fully complimented their front office a million times, deservedly so. They have been scared to make trades in recent years, and they have had this glut of good talent. A lot of it has lost its trade value because they did nothing with it, and they have done a bad job of trading away some of that glut before they were desperate to trade it away and turning it into major league talent. They have not been able to do that, and they've done a bad job the last couple of years. And again, I'm looking for them to do it this offseason.
It confuses
and
me.
so far they haven't, but there's a long way to go.
It confuses. I don't like if you're not going to use them and you have to lose them because
Right.
the
That's
clock
why
is
they
ticking.
traded Will Benson and Nolan
Right.
Jones for nothing. Now, both of those guys regressed last year, and neither had a
Yeah.
good year.
Yeah.
Nolan Jones was hurt for a lot of the season, but still, like they got put in a spot where they didn't feel like those guys were fit their roster, and they had to trade them essentially for nothing, or they were going to lose them.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got, are the Guardians not willing to do things like, hey, we got some of this young talent, let's trade, and maybe the guy we bring in has a big contract, but it's only a couple of years left on it. Are they willing to do stuff like that?
I think they've been gun shy about that, Jason. I don't know how you feel, but
I mean, they pursued Matt Olson. They pursued the
Sean Murphy.
thank you, the catcher. Yeah, Sean Murphy. So they went after some guys a couple years ago. I think part of the problem is they were asking for Espino and Bybee in a lot of these deals and in those big name deals, and they didn't want to trade those guys.
Well,
and
turns out they should have traded Espino.
well, but it's impossible to know that. What if they traded Bybee and kept Espino? Where would he be?
Then it would have been a disaster.
So it's just, and like, they could never decide between Arias and Rocchio for shortstop, and so they kept them
And
both.
now Arias has zero value.
Arias is zero value.
And Rocchio, even though he played well in the playoffs, has almost zero value.
Because
Let's be
they-
I
honest.
think he is more than zero, but certainly
He's not
it's
a
not what
key
it was.
piece in a trade.
It's not what it was.
Because
a couple
they
years ago.
drafted a second baseman. They got like 35 of them.
Yeah,
Like,
they got a lot of these middle infield types, and none of them are like all these guys that we thought would be really good. So far, none of them have been really good. That being said, they won a ton of games. They still have a lot of the
Yeah,
players
hey,
back.
listen.
They should be in the mix this year, but they need to do more.